Lesson 14. The Wise Use of Time. We trust that this moment finds you willing to be wholly where you are. We would trust, then, that in this moment you are willing to assume responsibility for the choices you have made. The choices that you have literally created the environments that you are experiencing in this moment. The chair in which you sit, the walls around you, the things that hang upon the wall, the individual with whom you find yourself in close proximity, the individual with whom you find yourself in a relationship, the individuals with whom you work, those with whom you play, and those with whom you share. And we would trust that this moment finds you, the holy child of God, at play in the kingdom of Christ. If not, if you are aware within yourself, well, that's not quite the perspective from which I was beginning my reading of this lesson. I thought I was going to sit down and listen to Christ. If there be some element, some touch of some trace within you of that perspective, then pause right now. As you do so, abide by yourself. Take several deep breaths if you wish. Go back to the 5-minute exercise of simply being the presence of Christ. For well do we perceive that many of you have already forgotten that that exercise exists. At the end of the 5 minutes, simply remind yourself that what is true always is always true. Only love is real. And what is real cannot be threatened by what does not truly exist. In each moment in which your perceptions are less than flowing from the remembrance of who you are, you have been in on reality. When you notice this, take the time and use it constructively by returning to the truth. Pause in your reading if you must. We will be going nowhere and return in 5 minutes. The way of transformation is simple, for the way of efforting one's way into the kingdom cannot flow from the guidance of the Holy Spirit. For where there is effort, there is a separate will called the ego that believes itself to be and would love to convince you of the small, powerless, and knows that it is pervaded by fear. Love requires no effort, only the little willingness necessary to allow it to flow from the depth of your being through you, that it might be extended throughout creation. Beloved friends, the way of transformation requires only that you extend to yourself the willingness necessary to put into practice using time differently. No, it does not mean that you have to quit your job and go live in a little hut on top of a mountain somewhere. You would not necessarily use time differently by doing so. It does require that you begin with a simple recognition that there can be no set of perceived circumstances that truly have the power to separate you from your God. No set of circumstances, no set of relationships, not the weather, not the amount of money that you are allowing yourself to receive for the expenditure of your time. There is nothing in the world that has the power to separate you from your God. You are the one who holds dominion over all things. What does this idea of dominion mean? It means that you are the one who is the source of the power that can choose how you will see what is around you, how you will perceive it, and what you will believe most about it. You are the one with the power to penetrate the illusory veil of the world and see the heart, the essence, the truth, the Christ child in everything, a blade of grass, the cry of a child, the barking of a dog, or the coming of the mail with the bills. Therefore, the way of transformation does not require you to change your circumstance. It merely requires that you change your attitude toward them by recognizing that they are harmless, by recognizing that you have called all things to yourself. There are many that would teach that you must sit around and ponder why you did this and why you did that. I say unto you, all that is required to begin is the willingness to accept that in the great mystery of consciousness, you are the power and the source for all that you think, all that you see, all that you feel, and all that you would be and do. You abide in that freedom constantly. The way of transformation, then, rests simply on that. How will I decide to use my time? Finding myself here in this moment, can I remember that I am free to see things differently? I am free to look lovingly upon the world. I do not need to wait for something outside of myself to create a stimulus that elicits a loving response. You do not need to wait for your mate to come and give you the hug that you want so much. You do not need to wait until your mother calls you on the phone and begs for your forgiveness for how cruel she treated you when you were growing up. You do not need to wait until the current president is no longer in the White House. You do not need to wait for the contest that comes in the mail to make you the winner that brings you millions of dollars. You do not need to wait for that to happen. Right now, you are the one that is free. But perhaps you have imprisoned yourself by waiting for love to show up outside of you to trigger a response within you, when you feel it or recognize it, so that finally you feel loving. Those that know aloneness are not limited in extending love, and those that know loneliness yet retain the power to make the decision to love. It can never be taken from you. Here's a simple exercise that we wish to give you. When next you find yourself alone and perhaps feeling just a little bit lonely, and you notice that the mind is spinning with thoughts and you're feeling perhaps just a little weak and out of sorts, pick up your telephone book, take 3 deep breaths, and with each breath say to yourself, "In reality, I remain as I am created to be. I am the holy child of God." Then merely open the phone book, place your hand on one of the pages with the many names and numbers, and just feel your way to a specific name and number. You will know the feeling, then for the fun of it, call that person. And when they answer the phone, merely say, "I'm not here to sell you anything. I just need about 15 seconds of your time. I know you've never met me, but I was just sitting in my chair remembering that the truth is true always. And I am calling to remind you that you are loved by God. You've never failed. You've never done anything wrong. You remain pure and innocent, even now. And I just wanted to give my blessing to you. Have a nice day. Goodbye." For you see, the world in which you live has but one purpose. It is the same purpose that all dimensions of creation have, to be the extension of the Father's love. For that is what creation is. And then to extend that love from the world, from the dimension. Each and every one of you has but one treasure, only one treasure. It is not your child. It is not your spouse. It is not the new car in the garage. Your treasure is your reality, as the unlimited, holy, and only begotten child of God. You are a field of consciousness through which the Father would extend himself. Your joy is found in extending your treasure. This means that if this is your only treasure, your greatest joy will be discovered as you cultivate within yourself the habits of mind, the habits of body, the habits of choice that begin to align what you think, what you see, and what you do with the truth that is true always. For your joy will be found as you recognize that you exist to extend your treasure. As you do so, you immediately add to your Father's treasure, whose only will is to extend that which he is forever, unbounded, unlimited, and God is but love. The grand thing about love is this: it does not require any set of conditions to exist before it does. How is this different than some of the things you experience in life? As a body, there are certain conditions that must exist before the body can be satiated with food or water. There must be certain conditions that are met before the body stops shivering against the cold. Your world is based on the topsy-turvy perception that conditions must be met before there can be a choice for peace instead of war, for forgiveness instead of judgment, for love instead of fear. Therefore you think, when the conditions outside of me change, then I'll make the choice for love. I have often said that the world is merely the reflection of the insane choice to deny love and to be devoted to fear. The world is diametrically opposed to the truth of the kingdom. The world is the opposite of reality. The way of transformation rests on the complete reversal of the thought system you have learned in the world. But that thought system is not merely the practice of new ideas, repeated ad nauseum in the mind. The reversal of thought must permeate the entire field of the body-mind, which is nothing more than the field of your consciousness, so that you know that change has occurred. So when you are in any set of circumstances that once seemed to elicit judgment or fear, anger, hurt, sadness, you recognize, my goodness, my whole body feels different. I just feel like being loving. I feel totally safe. What's the big deal here? Oh, I remember when these kinds of circumstances would have elicited sadness or hurt or anger or fear. And now I just think it's a beautiful place to be, because here I can extend the love of Christ. Wow, what a joy, what a treasure. Thank God I have this moment in which I can be the blessing that blesses this world. What is the world, if not each moment of relationship in which you find yourself? Beloved friends, the use of time is pivotal. The use of time determines, at all levels, what you will experience in your tomorrow. Long after the body ceases to be the teaching and learning device that you are most attached to, long after the body dies, you will indeed be continually stepping into your tomorrow. For you are that sunbeam sent forth from the sun, from the mind of God, and that light never stops traveling. To use a spatial term, you will never cease to create. You will never cease to experience. The only choice you ever have is this: will I assume responsibility for doing whatever I must do to eradicate every misperception, every obstacle to the presence of love, every limited belief I have ever learned about anyone or anything, especially about myself? When will I choose to assume responsibility for cultivating that perfect remembrance that I and my Father are one, so that I can perceive the real world, the reality that shines through everything? That is the reality that is present in the very material that makes up the chair in which you are sitting. The reality literally pervades the body that you think is so dense and hard, or perhaps, if you haven't been exercising, it is also a little soft. The point is, there is nothing that you see that is not pervaded by the perfect radiance of God's holy presence. Nothing. A stone, a leaf, a piece of paper blown by the wind, even the shouting of fear and anger from anyone, yet contains within it, if you would receive it, the perfect love of God. For your Father does not ever recoil or withdraw from the unlimited and perfect extension of himself, and God is but love. If you did not abide wholly in that love in this moment, you would immediately cease to exist. I do not just mean die, I mean literally cease to exist. There would be no trace of thought or memory in any mind of you. It is only because love is that you are. This is why I once said, "Of myself I can do nothing, but my Father through me does these things." I did not say, "I learned these of my Father, and now I will be the maker and doer." I acknowledged my complete helplessness, my complete dependency. I eradicated any perception that I was a self, separate from God. I stopped giving authority to the tiny little gnat shouting out the vastness of space. My will be done. As you sit in your chair in this moment, hopefully with your transformation journal in your lap and the pen that you have purchased for only this purpose, remember this. You are wholly dependent at all times on the pervasive reality of love, which has given you existence out of its desire to extend its treasure, joy. This is the reality of who you are in this moment. You are as the wave that has arisen from the ocean of God's perfect and holy love. You could not for a moment be cut off from it. Yes, tomorrow things will change. Yes, there will be a point when the body breaks down and dies. Yes, there will be a moment in which all you see before you will no longer be there. For all things that arise in time end in time. That is the way it is. Yet you are free to cultivate the ability to perceive the real world, to see, to know, to feel, to taste, to be, to extend that which is real. Only love meets that definition. An exercise to develop your awareness. Therefore, again, by way of another exercise, take just a moment and look around you. What is the first thing that your eye sees? Be with it. Do not be so fast to judge it as a candle or a flower or a picture. Simply be with it. Let the body relax. Stop thinking so much. What is this thing? Do you truly know what it is or what it is for? You describe it. You name it as an atom once did the animals in the story of the Garden of Eden. The human mind believes that once it is named or defined a thing, it therefore knows it. It is called the smugness of egoic knowledge. But do you truly know what that thing is? Do you recognize what has come about to even bring it into existence? How many minds had to have been involved in bringing forth that creation? What are the materials it is made of? Where did the materials come from? What plant, what rock, what metal has been discovered and extracted from the body of the earth to become that shape? How on earth did that happen? Where did the very molecules of atoms come from? What is that thing that I am looking at? Can you find a place in which you merely rest in awe and recognize your complete ignorance? You did not make that thing. You cannot find the moment in which that thing first began to arise as a thought in someone's mind. You are completely unaware of the moment of the birthing of that substance from which that object has been created. Look at it, then, with awe, and recognize that it has come forth from the same place as you. Mystery, utter, sheer mystery. Do you not then feel an affinity with it? Are you not then in a relationship with it? Can you not then begin to sense the sacredness in which that relationship abides? For mystery is sacred, and it transcends even the greatest of minds. The greatest of philosophers cannot comprehend the field of mystery in which all relationships arise. Now, looking upon that object, whatever it is, recognize that you have called it into relationship with yourself. Ponder for a moment and ask yourself, out of what vibration of consciousness did I first call this object to me? You might remember purchasing it in a store. See if you can discover the very first moment in your memory, in your consciousness, in which this object came into the field of your awareness. What was going on? What were you thinking, or were you thinking at all? What motivated you to bring it into the field of your home? If you are at a friend's house, the question remains the same. What motivated you to be where you are right now? What choices are you making with consciousness? Now again, we would suggest that you pause in your reading and spend about 5 minutes repeating this exercise with several objects or things that you see in the room around you. Do not forget that you might even include your kneecap or your hand, a ring on your finger, the socks on your feet. Enjoy this exercise. But remember, do not press the brain. That is, do not think so hard. Relax the body. Sit in a chair as though you were Christ and just look, and go through the kinds of questions we have given unto you, and then we will continue. How did that go? Beloved friends, this exercise is very, very similar to one I was always given by the Essene teachers when I was fairly young. I would spend hours, not just 5 minutes, but literally hours doing this exercise. I would do it in my father's house. I would do it in the synagogues. I would do it in the streets of the villages. My favorite time and place to do this was just at dusk, as the sun would begin to set. As it did so, I observed the colors and felt the changes in the temperature of the air upon my skin. As I looked at the breeze dancing across the grass, as I heard the song of the bird, I would do these things, just as I asked you to be with the objects in your room. Hours would go by as I would sit and try and look at each and every star in the sky, asking myself the same question. Can I discover the source of this, what I am seeing? Where did it come from? How could it be? What has brought this forth? As I began to sense that I was calling these things into my experience, I began to discern what brought me true joy. Not just a moment of pleasure or satisfaction or a sense of security, but that which elicited true joy. I discovered that what always brought joy was when I was willing to surrender into the awe of mystery, to penetrate the thoughts, perceptions, attitudes, and definitions that the world had taught me. To look at a plate and not just see a plate, but to see mystery unfolding before me. To sit and look at a star. To sit and look at a sacred text. To sit and look at one diseased who sits at the side of the road covered with dust, and to see no difference. To see them all pervaded by the same mystery, the presence of my Father's love. I began to sense that the love pervaded me, that the very body-mind that I thought had been me, Jeshua ben Joseph, was arising out of the mystery, out of the mystery that I did not create myself. I finally came to realize that even I was a mystery with which I was in a relationship. I decided to be in a relationship with my own self, what we refer to as the body-mind, that peculiar sense of awareness in which you say, I am. I decided to be in relationship with the totality of myself, mind, spirit, soul, body, with the same sense of awe and mystery that I felt when I looked upon the farthest of stars deep into the night on a quiet hillside. And that changed everything. I gave up my new self-definition. I did not see myself as a carpenter's son. I did not see myself as a Jew. I no longer saw myself as a student of the Essenes. I came to see myself as a mysterious extension of something beyond my comprehension. I saw myself as a sunbeam to the sun. I saw myself as the very mystery of God's presence being unfolded in the realm of manifestation. I saw that all that I thought, even down to the body, was temporary. I saw that whatever it was that was birthing me was eternal, an ongoing foreverness. And that if I could just rest in that, if I could abide with that, if I could return to that, even prior to every breath, that I could tap into the very power of creation itself, and get out of the way, and get out of the way, and get out of the way, and keep diving deeper into mystery upon mystery upon mystery. I never let my mind rest from that day. I never once decided I was done. I never defended a single perception that I held about anyone or anything. And by using time wisely, I cultivated over time the willingness and the ability to seek first the kingdom, even to the point where I was doing it prior to every word spoken, every gesture made with the body. Father, I rest in you. What would you live through me in this moment? Let me witness it. Let me feel it. Let me taste it. Let me ever deeper into your mystery. I want all of you. And if I might make a confession, that has never ended. I am still saying, Father, I want all of you. The way of transformation is the willingness to use time differently. There must come a point in the journey of each individual in which the head bows and the thought emerges. I want only God, and I no longer care what it takes, what is required. I submit to the mystery's force that is life, asking only that I be transformed into the perfect field of awareness, through which love flows without obstruction. What you will discover in the end is that the only obstruction is fear, and some expression of it. Each time you begin to set aside fear and choose to bless the world from the perfect holiness of your union with God, each time you dare to be so arrogant in the eyes of the world as to be the presence of Christ, each time you relax the mind and the body and recognize, of myself I do nothing. Something is living me, and it is that which I surrender. You will cultivate a way of being in the world that is not here. That is, it is not within the perceptible mode that makes up the world. You will be different. You will look the same, but you will not be the you that the world has known. You will speak as you've always spoken. You will know your social security number. However, there will be a definite sense that you live, yet not you, but that one is living you. Somehow, inextricably, unexplainably, you are being allowed to be the field of awareness that gets to witness life living as you. And you will know that it is sacred. You will know that it is beautiful. You will know that right now, wherever you are in this moment, you are the embodiment and the expression of mystery. Love forever extending itself, you are the very joy of God. And you will continue to be so throughout all of existence. There will never be a time when you will cease to be. But by choosing to surrender defense of the perceptions you have come to identify as you, by choosing to release the grip on the fear you believe are justified, and the judgments that you believe are true, as you surrender your grip on the world you have made, creation will flow through you. Of myself I do nothing. I merely witness the flow of love through me. I use time wisely to cultivate perfect remembrance of the real world. Time and space do not imprison me. This body is not me. I use it as a tool to fashion and shape that which in this world can extend love into any moment. As we come to the end of our second adventure into the way of transformation, notice what thoughts, what pictures, what items you have chosen to write into your journal. Notice the feeling that are occurring in the body even now. Notice the thoughts, the pictures, and the images that you may hear echoing throughout the field of the mind. You abide nowhere but in the infinitude of God's presence. Mastery comes when finally you choose to release all attachment of fear, and in perfect surrender, you release the dream of the dreamer itself, and allow the mystery of life to live you without obstruction, without fear, in perfect knowledge that I and my Father are one. There is nothing I have to do to get God. There are only some things to be released, so that God can get me. Beloved friends, heed well what was shared, at times in a very subtle way in this lesson. We would highly suggest that you read this lesson several times in different environments, at different times, perhaps at 3 in the morning, perhaps at midnight. And when your spring comes to warm the earth again, take the time to find a small hill where you can gaze at the stars, and perhaps abide with them differently. Review this lesson when you are feeling harried or stressed. Look at all the different sets of circumstances that you have believed have the power to limit your choice or distract your energy. Read this lesson in those circumstances when you are sad, when you are lonely, when you are bothered. When the room is filled with too many friends, take it and read it sitting on a park bench, or on the benches in the great malls where the many beings come to worship their god of stuff and exchange their golden coins for shopping. Shop instead for a new quality of awareness, a new way of being, that which penetrates what you believe are seen, and reveals to you the perfect harmony of the kingdom, the presence of the love of God. No one will ever make this journey for you. No one you see or no one with whom you live will ever make the journey to God for you. So get clear about your priorities and seek first the kingdom. Above all, know that you are not alone. We are indeed with you always. I love you. Peace, then, be unto you always. Amen.